Republic 30 years ago, Iran has been at daggers drawn with the West. In the last decade, as the West has put more troops on Iran's borders, the conflict has grown ever more dangerous. In a luxury London hotel, a senior Iranian made a surprising offer to one of the West's principal negotiators with Iran.
The Iranians wanted to be able to strike a deal whereby they stop killing our forces in Iraq in return for them being allowed to carry on with their nuclear program.
Iran had never before admitted responsibility for coalition deaths in Iraq. And when the senior Iranian said it, no other witnesses were present. This is the story of how the West struggles to handle its most intractable adversary. The Panjshir Valley, Afghanistan. What happened here in 2001 created a rare opportunity for Iran and the West to come together. Iran's enemies, the Taliban, controlled almost all of Afghanistan, except this valley, which was held by Iran's ally, the Northern Alliance. Its commander, Ahmad Shah Massoud, was the only Afghan the Taliban could not conquer. But now they had him trapped. Two North Africans with Belgian passports and a letter of introduction from an Islamic group in London persuaded Massoud to give them an interview. They began with some unexpected questions. Why are you against Osama bin Laden? Why do you call him a killer? Each exploded a bomb, one in the camera and the other in a suicide belt. Massoud was dead.
شاید من اولین نفراتی بودم در دنیا که از موضوع مطلع می شدم. پرسش مهم این که چرا احمد شاه مسعود این گونه ترور شده و چرا اصلا ترور شده در این مقطع، چه اتفاقی افتاده که دو نفر جان خودشون از دست دادن، دو نفر نیروی حرفه‌ای.
Iranian intelligence judged that only Al-Qaeda could have pulled off this complex hit. One obvious motive was to help their hosts, the Taliban. But it smelt of an international plot.
فکر می‌کردیم که آنچه که اتفاق افتاده پایان یک ماجرا نیست، آغاز یک ماجراست و فکر می‌کردیم که اتفاقات بیشتری در پیشه.
Massoud's other ally also smelled a rat.
Мы с президентом Бушем говорили, и я в разговоре с ним упомянул о том, что на днях был убит лидер Северного альянса в Афганистане Масуд. И я сказал тогда американскому коллеге, знаешь, меня это очень тревожит, такое чувство, что что-то должно произойти. Они явно к чему-то готовятся.
The next day was the 11th of September 2001.
یادم میاد که ساعت 4 بعد از ظهر به وقت ما بود. من بیرون بودم، به دفترم که آمدم به من گفتن که تلویزیونا رو نگاه بکن ببین چه حادثه‌ای رخ داده. به منم نگفتن چی.
ایشون اولین سوالشون بود که ارزیابی ما از مسئله چیست. گفتیم این کار توسط القاعده انجام شده، اما اینکه چرا و چگونه سوال‌های پرسش‌های زیادی هم هست که نمیتونیم جواب اونها رو طبعاً بی زودی پیدا کنیم در اون لحظه.
گفتم ما باید موضع بگیریم. یک موضع انسانی در مقابل این عمل. دوم اظهار تأثیر از این که این همه انسان کشته شده.
For the 20 years since the Islamic Revolution, Iranians had chanted death to America. The authorities ordered that stopped. Instead, Iran mourned the victims of 9/11. President Mohammad Khatami led the most moderate government since Iran became an Islamic state. He had sought reconciliation with America, but his political opponents stopped him. With America poised to attack the Taliban, he had a chance to win the argument in the cabinet.
طالبان دشمن ماست. آمریکا هم احساس می‌کرد طالبان دشمن ماست. و سرنگونی طالبان در درجه اول تامین کننده منافع ایران بود.
They decided to talk to the Americans. The only place where US and Iranian officials met was the UN. A member of Iran's delegation brought a message for the US government.
He said that Iran was prepared to work unconditionally with the United States in the war on terror. That if they could work with us on this issue, it had the potential to fundamentally transform US-Iranian relations.
In 1979, Iran had taken American diplomats hostage. The USA and Iran had had no diplomatic relations since. Now, Iranian and US diplomats started meeting secretly, in a body called the 6+2 group.
These meetings took place in New York and also in Geneva. The Iranians were willing to do whatever was necessary to help to ensure that the US military campaign could succeed.
For almost a month, the US bombed the Taliban and Al-Qaeda heartlands south and east of Kabul.
در افغانستان به قول خود افغان‌ها چیزی نبود که خراب بشه. قبلا همه چیزش خراب شده بود. امریکایی‌ها حمله می‌کردن میگفتن حالا رفتن پناهگاهی رو پیدا کردن مثلا در غارها. حمله می‌کردن یه بمب عجیب غریبی رو که میتونه یه کوه رو منهدم کنه شلیک می‌کردن هیچ اتفاقی نمی‌افتاد.
This war could not be won from the air alone. But Iran's allies, the Northern Alliance, were still bottled up in the Panjshir Valley. What they needed was the US to bomb the Taliban where they were blocking the road to Kabul. Iran decided it was time to share crucial intelligence with America. They used the 6+2 group.
در یکی از این جلسات یکی از اعضای هیئت ایرانی نظامی بود و اون توضیح داده بود شرایط داخل افغانستان رو.
He pounded the table and said, I've had enough of this. This is just nice talk, but we're not going to get anywhere if this bombing campaign doesn't succeed.
نظرش این بود که امریکا اگر میخواد کاری بکنه باید با جبهه متحد یا با دوستان ایران همکاری کنه.
And then he took out a map and he unfurled the map on the table and started to point to targets that the US needed to focus on, particularly in the north. We took the map to CENTCOM, to the US Central Command. And certainly that did become the US military strategy.
We took a fourth world force, the Northern Alliance, riding horses, walking, living off the land, and we married them up with a first world air force. And it worked.
The Northern Alliance took Kabul. Iran's strategy had succeeded. Next, Iran helped America create a new government for Afghanistan. But America still had Iran on its list of state sponsors of terror. The State Department proposed to open the way to dialogue.
We couldn't get support from the NSC, from the Pentagon, from the Vice President's office. And in every case, we ran up against this belief in regime change.
Iran aggressively pursues these weapons and exports terror, while an unelected few repress the Iranian people's hope for freedom. States like these and their terrorist allies constitute an axis of evil.
مسئله محور شرارت معین کردن ایران روابط ما رو به موقعیتی